What's up, y'all? It's your girl Sid, and welcome to season 3 of CoolHER Talk. I'm so excited that you're here, joining me and so many dope women this season as we transparently inspire and empower through conversations of womanhood, career, relationships, and all of life's experiences. If you've been a CoolHER Talk supporter, thank you so much for rocking with us and transitioning over into this new podcast space from Instagram Live. But if you're new, go ahead and pull up a seat. Since the beginning of this male-dominated corporate office world, the water cooler has been a spot for gossip, the chisme, the drama, honestly, for spilling the tea. But the water cooler over the years have modernized a bit into a coffee pot, a fancy espresso machine and a snack bar, or even happy hour. But the subject of many of these talks in these locations have gone unchanged, and that subject is women. Women are either the subject of these conversations or not invited to these conversations. And so CoolHER Talk is a space for us. So welcome to the Cooler. Today, for the first episode of season 3, I have a really special guest, Jannika Pipkins. She's the founder and CEO of Theos Design Agency, better known as the agency that's behind the Digital 319 rebrand that you guys have seen this year. Jannika, welcome to the Cooler. I'm so happy to have you today. Go ahead and introduce yourself to the people.
Thank you for having me. Yeah, so I'm Jannika, and I own a branding agency called Theos Branding Agency. We're a multi-service agency, and we specialize in helping entrepreneurs build brands, build and design websites, and we also do social media marketing and management as well. And I'm also married of 13 years, and I have 3 daughters.
Yeah, like a whole bunch of mini-me's. Like
yes.
So let's start with, the obvious, talking about your journey and your path. Like, what inspired you to become a designer, entrepreneur? Like, how did you get on this path?
Okay, yeah, so I'm super creative, like from the time that I was, a little kid watching cartoons, Tom and Jerry. I feel like I'm telling my age right now, but I'm watching cartoons and I always wanted to recreate the, cartoons and redraw them out. That was my life. I was trying to learn how to color in the lines and different things like that. So I've always been, really into art and creativity and also tech. Like tech was something that I was really drawn to. I feel like we were in the age of transitioning from, the dial tone to going into the making of the internet and things like that. So I really got into like AOL, coding, different things like that, just trying to figure out how to hack chat rooms and stuff. And that was like when I started really realizing that, okay, I like this. I like being on the internet. I like, trying to figure out creativity and art and different things like that. So I believe in 2009, when I was in college, I was attending this local church that I was a part of at the time in San Antonio, Texas. And I was, trying to help out in any way I could because I just felt like, let me just find something to do here. And I started seeing that they were putting out like marketing and graphics. And I just was so like, this is not it. This is not it. I need to figure out how to help.
Use my gifts. Yeah.
I started like talking to the leadership team, and I was a part of the leadership team too, but I was talking to the founder of the church at that time. And I was really telling him like, hey, like, can I help? And this and that. And he was really like pushing on me, like, you should really be pursuing art and graphic design, being that that's something that you're gifted in and skilled in. And I was like, okay. I was in school at the time for computer engineering. I was trying to make some money.
Correct.
And I was like, okay. And I started like looking into different schools and tech, and I started getting into graphic design. And at that church at the time, he was allowing me to do the graphics and different things like that. And, I loved it. I was a part of it. And then initially, after a few probably weeks of school, I realized that I knew how to do all the things already. Like I knew Adobe, I knew Photoshop. So I was like, yeah, I'm not paying y'all to tell me something that I already know,
Yeah.
And as I continued doing that, he was I was a part of the grassroots of him building out the ministry.
Okay.
And it was like a very different ministry, more so geared to young adults and things like that. And I was looking for ways to just make it better, get the grassroots out, get the marketing side up and running. And that was like the making of me like building my first brand book and,
Wow.
brand guidelines and, really doing the groundwork and the research on my own to figure out how to make that happen. And then I realized there's so many people and businesses, especially my minority businesses, that need to know how to create a brand and how to market themselves and communicate their message to their audience. And so that was like the start of branding for me and graphic design. And I just kept going. I just kept going.
I love that. So fast forward to Theos Design. Like, when did you start your agency? And just the name alone, I think, is like when I first found you literally through Instagram. It's something that stands out, right? So like, tell us about that. Like, how did you start it? And like, what was that trigger to kind of get you to launch your own company?
Absolutely. So I started Theos initially in 2012 as it was an apparel line. I wanted to put out a message like for t-shirts, and I was really into t-shirts and really into like punchy, statements and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I just felt like it was part of like the whole sneaker community thing, which I really love that. My husband is a big sneaker guy. And I really wanted the message of like my faith and beliefs to just kind of be put out blatantly, because I felt like there wasn't really like any t-shirt lines kind of speaking to just the heart of people who believe in God, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I started it as an apparel line, and it sold out like in 20 minutes. I brought the box of wholesale shirts to the church and to my college campus, and everybody just was like grabbing it out the box. How do I pay you? Let me cash app you, right? And I was like, okay, I think I'm on to something.
Yeah.
I think I'm on to something. And then I think I kind of transitioned to trying to figure out how can I promote the artwork that I'm doing. I was painting at the time, and the t-shirts. How can I make it all one? And that was kind of like how I started it initially, and it kind of evolved over time into more of the branding and strategic branding and business building kind of aspect that I was more so inclined to. Still love t-shirts, still have that, as something I do more on the back end of the creativity side. But yeah, that's how it all started more so. And Theos kind of started the name. I got that because it means God. And I just wanted to mass represent my faith in a way that was cultured and that had not been, demonstrated already. I was always looking to innovate, How can I make this kind of a mask, but mystery, but also still projecting the same message that I want to put out? But I want it to be real time. Like I want it to be culture. I want it to be hip. I want it to be in, I don't want it to be this religious thing that I'm working on.
Yeah.
And, people are so messed up by the name of it that they don't get the actual message of it, which is be who you're called to be, be fully who you are, And I think at the end of the day, that's branding for me. And that's kind of how it evolved,
Oh, wow. I never knew that story. Like, and then, but that also shows like, a lot of times people, they see kind of like your brand in operation now, or they see your business, operation now, but they don't know like kind of all of those like bricks and blocks that were laid in the early entrepreneur days, you said, like it was an apparel brand. It also started off as me, designing for a church, like
right.
But all those things that we kind of did to, even at that point, you might not have known like, hey, this is going to be an agency one day where I do this, X, Y, and Z. But like all those blocks were like laid for a reason. So even throughout that journey, or even younger, when you were a little girl, like who made, the most impact on your life? Like who were the big influences for Jannika?
Yeah, so definitely my mom. I feel like her style of like, she was just so confident in how she dressed and how she carried herself. I really love that about her. And then, early on when I was younger, I would find little drawings and stuff that she did. Then later on, I found out that she was an actual artist. That was something she did. I know she probably sacrificed that to kind of,
to be
take care of me and my sister, but that was something that, she did. And she was actually really good at it. People paying her to do like little name. I don't know if you remember, like in high school, middle school, on your binder, that clear sheet, they want you to do like a name for them. She did stuff like that. And I was like, wow, like, I didn't know you did this, but her style just in general, like how she dresses and stuff, her fashion sense and her confidence really was like a building block for me. Also, my dad, he was an entrepreneur, still is. He was very successful. I was like, man, I want to make money like that. I want to go to work when I want to go to work. It was more of like the comfort side of the entrepreneurship journey. But then I realized later on, he was getting up at 4 a.m, clocking in. He was doing the work, and that really inspired me as well. And he also was an artist. Didn't find that out till many years later, and I'm just like, okay, so I guess I'm supposed to be an artist. Two Picassos made Picasso. And so that was like a huge inspiration for me. And also culture, music, fashion, anything art related, rap. Aaliyah was a big, inspiration for me growing up. Her style, just eclectic, different. It was different. Her tomboyish sense, I was into that. I played ball, and just music in general, and the art scene, and not seeing a lot of brown artists, not seeing a lot of brown people that were successful, I just wanted to see something different. And I think that inspired me too. Like, I can do this. If other people are doing it, I can do this too, and then I wanted to create a sense that people that look like me can do this as well. It's not just for a certain person. It's not just for a certain people,
Right. I love that. Most of the time when I ask that question, most of us say, our moms, our parents, but I love that you hinted on the fact that it was also just like your environment in general, like the hard work, your parents, and then you had your own, personal things that influence the impact that, it has now made on you. So whether it was music, sports, culture, like I do love like that answer of just like environment, because a lot of times, we don't like, it's an underrated thought of how much just the space around you, plays into your greatness or not. Like, and it's like we were talking about before we like really started recording, of just like, man, like as an entrepreneur, you got to figure out how to make that one room do all the things, like using the office and a podcast studio and a sneaker room and everything. So I think, I had put up a reel this week because I was just like in here like early morning. Like, I'm a early riser. I like to be up before the sun if I can. That's usually when I'm at the gym. But I had some downtime before I started my day, and I know a friend recently just talked about like slow mornings. Like, that's just something you're not used to getting as a mom, as an entrepreneur. And so it's one of those days where it felt like a slow morning. And I was just looking around my office like, man, like it's always a vibe to me when I walk in here. Like, it's never a day I walk in here, or it's days I'll come on the weekend and, I'm like, I'm not doing no work, but I just want to be in here. And I feel like it's because it's just filled with like all those things that like influence my creativity, impact my thought. And that's important, like even from childhood. And so I think, being a mom of 3, like me being a mom of 1, like you start to think about how even the small things like your house, impacts their moods, the things that they do, the things that they see. Like, so it's definitely like beautiful to think from like the environment perspective of how that, impacted us. So as you guys may know, if you're just following us, and just kind of new to the CoolHER, Digital 319, which is my agency, this year underwent a rebrand. It was time for us to evolve. The team had grown. And everything that Digital 319 kind of started out as in 2020, of this one woman show, me just managing social media and digital media for brands. She wasn't that anymore. Like, Digital 319 was not that. And so literally embarked on conversations with my business coach about like, hey, like I really need to go through a rebrand, because I don't think like nonetheless, the tactical sides, you know, the business, the website and social, like the branding, like none of that felt like me anymore or felt right for the agency anymore. But it was also just this, you know, when I started it, I wasn't married. I didn't have a kid, and now I'm a wife and a mom and you know, boss of a team. And so much had changed, and I felt like the agency didn't evolve with it. And so I kind of sat with this space of it's time to like normalize evolution. It's time for us to be okay with change, to grieve things that once was and not try to get back to them. And so I'm literally scrolling through Instagram one day after my business coach was like, look, I know you know, can design websites and do these things and all of that, but you're not going to have time to do that for yourself. Like, you're not going to have time. You're running the whole business. And she was like, you're going to need to hire somebody. So since launching the new brand for Digital 319, we've gotten so many compliments about like how vibrant it is. I feel like the energy on my team is just different. So tell me a little bit about like that process and kind of like working on an agency's brand, like to bring that to life.
Yeah. So first and foremost, from the very first time we talked, everything, I just knew that it was going to be, you know, an amazing collab because our energy for one, and then two, just your creative, the creative aspect of who you are. I just felt like, okay, this is going to be good. I felt like we were having fun because the energy matched and just our ability to connect in the aspect of creativity and who we both are in general. I think that personalities aligning and everything, your ability to just kind of let the creative flow and process go, and you having an agency, so you knowing like the back end and how that looks. I think that created, you know, an ability for it to be fun, not only fun, but also just a challenge too in itself. Because I love the current direction of the brand that you had previously. But I had so many ideas for how it could go because I was like, okay, she's doing this already, so we could just do anything with this. We could go 50 million ways. So my branding process is kind of the same with every client, but working with the agency and kind of, you know, hearing feedback from your team and different things like that, I think it just created a different edge and a different way for me to work through that process with you all. Just allowing me to be myself, the strategic brander, the designer, the creative artist, all of those things, but also mixing kind of like culture and mixing, you know, personality, because I believe that, you know, authenticity is one of the greatest weapons when it comes to branding and building any business. I believe that you have to be yourself. And if it is a business brand that you're branding, I do feel like you have to still have some aspects of what you value in the brand to make it connective to your audience. Because if you don't have that, then, you know, it's almost like, where do we even start?
Right. Very true. Like,
Yeah.
it's that I think too, you know, and I like every meeting, I was just floored. You know, I think a lot of times when it's your baby in so many aspects, like I've always been one, like if I'm working with a creator or designer anyway, I'm like, this is your expertise. You know, like I'll give you the vision of things that I'm thinking, but I was always floored every meeting with how like I felt like it was just like from my mouth to Jannika's like pen. Like it was just coming to life like so well. And just to see like where it is today, like knowing, you know, the versatility of it. And I think more so just like the timelessness of it, the colors and everything just meshed to just even without words on the slide, like it just really speaks to like what I wanted the brand to say and who I wanted the brand to be. And I think it's also rare, you know, to your point, where two agencies get to service each other. Absolutely. You know, like we have very similar services, do very similar things. It's like, hey, I need you to like rebrand us. And, you know, again, I think there was a lot of room where we could have came in and like was like, all right, this is this closed box idea that we had. Like, can you just make this? But I really just was like, hey, it's free reign. Like, let's see where you take it. And I mean, we have absolutely loved it. Like just seeing our like logos and stuff, or merch, or just like, you know, just it's a whole different energy. Like I feel like even when it's also helped us kind of just like redefine like who we want to align with as an agency to clients. Like you were saying, if I can't tell the story, then is it even a right partnership? If we can't align on, you know, storytelling, creativity, culture, strategy, like if we can't align on the things
Yes.
that are core to our brand, like are we, you know, a good partnership? And so like in your years of entrepreneurship, because you've been doing this, like not new to it, true to it, like have you run into those times where you felt like, man, like, you know, this will put some money on the table, or this will, you know, be a good account or a good thing to work on, but I just don't align with, you know, the brand. Like, have you run into moments like that?
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think being in the online space and different things, you can kind of feel like you have to work with every single person that comes your way. And I could definitely say that I have definitely tried that. Like I felt the gut feeling initially in the sales call or in the initial discovery session, and I just felt like this is not going to work. Their personality, and I don't think it's just personality. I think it's expectation too.
Girl, yes.
Because you know, being somebody who is creative, being somebody in the online space, seeing the creative aspect of everything that you do, and your flow being creative as well, kind of inspirational, there is not a lot of room for a very strict structure there sometimes. Sometimes it has to be all over the place before it all makes
Before you,
sense.
exactly.
And I think me working with people who understand that dynamic, not maybe even understanding me as a person, not even being the same personality, but understanding the creative process. I think that is the biggest thing when it comes to working with an agency, working cross agencies, just understanding that it is not linear. Getting
Yeah.
to, you know, any destination is not linear. And sometimes when people want it to be that way, it can definitely make the brand not what it's supposed to be, because people are messy. If you're making the brand a human, or if you're humanizing the brand, or if you're trying to make it connective to actual humans, then you start to realize like, okay, it can't be so constrictive, because people don't even want that anymore. People
Yep.
don't even want that. They want relationship. They want storytelling. And I think just to go back to your question, you know, working with people who are not aligned with my values or aligned with who I am. I think that in the online space, you can get that a lot because you're talking to so many people at
Yep.
once, but usually it doesn't pan out. Either
Yep.
the customer leaves unsatisfied,
You get burnt
even if you
out, you're
did your
not
best
happy with
work.
your work, like
Yes, even if you did your best work and you know without a shadow of a doubt internally, you got to have confidence, because you have to know without a shadow of a doubt it was your best work. But sometimes people are just left unsatisfied, you know, and that's something you got to be okay with. I think you got to be okay with telling people no, you know, all the people pleasing has to go.
back.
You know, and really recognizing who you are coming into the discovery session or the sales call, and understanding that it has to match. Like, it's a collaboration, you know, at the end of the day. And either somebody's going to leave unsatisfied, or y'all going to be fighting the whole time, or the emails are going to be emailing, and, you know, the communication might be off from the get. And I think it's possible to work through those things. For me personally, I've even thought about having just a VA, like somebody who can kind of do the in between for me, because I am very communicative, but I can be direct as well. And sometimes talking and doing different things can take away from the creative process when you are having to either lead a team, contractors, whatever. So I think that you just have to know who you are. And if you are going into something that you might not feel that gut feeling initially, then you preparing yourself for what that might look like, because it might not be exactly what you want it to be. And if you are somebody that is like possibly starting out and you just need clients, you know, understanding that you needing clients and the money is not always what you think is going to be at the end of the day.
Been there. Been there.
Desperation will have you in some situations, okay?
And burnt out and thinking and doing all the things and nothing at the same time. Like, because now you've like built this space where, I could do that. Yep, I could do that. Yeah. And then you look back and you're like, but what did this ultimately amount to? And I want to drop a pin in two words that you said: expectation and collaboration. Because let's keep it a buck. Like, in this post-pandemic era, there have been so many, what I've heard other entrepreneurs call like pandemicpreneurs, so many clubhouse experts, all these things, all these
Yes.
spaces that people have taken up. And, it's like, oh, I had 2 little viral posts and now I'm a social strategist, versus somebody who's literally come through the gamut of social strategy, in a corporate world for big brands, and keeping it completely a buck. Like, that kind of, I guess, behavior and space and what has happened since the pandemic of, hey, I'm a coach here, I'm a coach there, I'm a coach this, like everyone's a coach. It's blurred the lines of expectation and collaboration. A lot of times, if you have been, again, true to this and not new to it, you come across, people that want to work with you, with your agency or whatever, and their expectation is you're doing the work, or their expectation is super high. Well, this one person said they only charged this to get me, 10,000 followers in 3 days, and then the collaboration piece is also lost in that, because they come thinking I'm hiring you to just do this thing. Jannika couldn't have rebranded D319 without the collaboration of my vision. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of times in this space, like a branding, marketing, social, business owners, entrepreneurs, brand leaders, company, heads, when they hire agency, they just assume like, here you go, like you do the thing. But it takes an equal balance of what is the expectation across the board, and then how do we collaborate to get there? It's not like, you're a person who make pizzas and here's the ingredients, make my pizza. No, we got to figure out how we want it to taste, how we want it to look, what we want to sell it for, like all those things. So I think those 2 words, expectation and collaboration, are key, but also, unfortunately, since the pandemic, they've just been super blurred, like on what that looks like.
Right. Definitely, I feel like watered down. Those words watered down, and this aspect of
CoolHER watered down. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, absolutely, because it's like what you said. It's such a saturated place, social media, and you can really create, this image that you're doing all of these things, but really on the back end, you don't know what you're doing. And it is a thin line, because as an entrepreneur, you go through phases where you absolutely don't know what you're doing. But in the skill set and the expertise that you have, that is always where your confidence lies. But, it's like you said, without that collaboration, without, having a full understanding of who it is that you're working with, who it is that you are alongside of, and honoring the difference. I think that's a big thing, honoring and valuing the difference in who other people are, and understanding that they can help you and you can help each other. I had to honor, when working with you, I was honoring the creative aspect that you already had coming into it. I never look at anybody's business and think, oh, they don't know what they're doing. Because you had to have done some work and get some insight about your audience, about, who you are as a brand, who you are as a business, to even be at this point where you're even reaching out for help, or reaching out to get assistance, and the collab with you, we know that you have the expertise. You just didn't have the time to do it. Nope. So, it's just so many aspects of the online space right now that it's kind of crazy. It's kind of overwhelming to, I believe, even new entrepreneurs. So, yeah, I think that it's important that you have both of those things.
And I think too, like, that's why I have, and I know you've probably gone through it as well. Like, sometimes you get in these funks of just like, well, is social media even really important for me gaining customers for my brand? Even doing it for other brands, like, that's the lifeline of what we do. But you start to think about it in that way, because one, like, most of our clientele for the last 4 years have been referral. I've talked to other CEOs and leaders and entrepreneurs where same, they're year 6, year 9, year 10, and referral and word of mouth is, has kept the lifeline on their business. But then also, to our points of, just because it's such a saturated and great space about the expectation and collaboration and what we do when it comes to branding, marketing, social media, everybody doesn't know what to expect, because there's been so much spewed out there of like, what it can be. Yes. It makes you hate like the idea of needing to, attract clients sometimes through social, because it's like, all right, I bring you, we finally get to this discovery call and your expectation is here and what we do is here.
Right.
And so what that spectrum in between is everything that they've learned, through social. So I
Yes.
want to take a pause in the interview and introduce our first ever core session. So if you've been around the last 2 seasons, you know that we've always kicked off CoolHER Talk with a this or that icebreaker. But new season, new vibes. And so we're introducing core sessions. We're going to take a break in the conversation and get to know my guests and me a little bit better. We actually introduced core sessions at our CoolHER Talk retreat in November of 2023 last year. And it was so fun. So it was like, let's, put that into the show. So 3 quick questions for Jannika and myself. First one, Jay, is spades or Uno? Are you a spades or Uno girl?
It's going to be Uno because I have no clue how to do that.
Seriously, so you don't want
put me on your
coming
team
to the cookout. We got to
table, take away my black card, do what you got to do. I do not
give it
know.
up. Give it up. Give it up. I am still appalled sometimes, like friends, family, anyone, like anytime we gather and it's that one person that's always like, I don't know how to play spades. I'm like, where have you been and why have you chosen not to learn? Like at this point, it's y'all's fault. Like,
first of all, I've been doing so much traveling and stuff. I'm barely home. But I really don't have a reason. And I think it's probably because that's not a game that my family plays.
Okay, maybe. That's fair. I'm going to give you that if the family don't play it. You trying to bring travel and you ain't home and no, not a good excuse.
Like,
nope.
I don't need to study because we're not even going to play. It's not until I get to my cousin's house or something like that maybe that's happening. But
I feel it.
I'm that one. I'm the one that doesn't know because
I love Uno if we doing triple doubles train, if it ain't just regular Uno, but if I had to pick, I'm gonna go with spades.
Yeah.
All right, staying in line with, what you do and all your amazing gifts. So since we're talking design, when you're working on a new project, do you like to mood board it out and find inspo from a lot of different sources first? Or are you just like a blank canvas, person and just like to start from scratch with just designing?
So a blank canvas scares me a lot. So it's going to be mood boarding for me.
Yeah.
I'm a Pinterest girly. I need a triggering effect to happen. So yeah, I can go all the way into mood boarding and stuff like that. But
yeah, I have to agree. I'm definitely mood board. But the funny thing about me, and I think it just might be like social platform saturation in my life, like having doing this for over a decade and working in social media for over a decade, is that I have never been able to get hip to Pinterest. Do I have an account? Does it have boards? Yes. But it's literally probably been 8 to 10 years, since college where I can't just stick with her. So I'm a mood boarder, but I'm more if I need to make a mood board, I'm looking at things around me. I'm looking at pictures in my camera roll,
yes.
or Googling different images or searching things on Instagram. But I have never been able to stick with Pinterest, even though I'm a mood boarder. And I don't know why. I think it's just my life feels like I have enough social platforms going on. It's always felt like that Pinterest is just unless a client needs us on Pinterest, I'm not there.
So Pinterest is not even a part of my process. So it's a part of my process. I'll say that, but it's not something I introduce to my clients. It's my personal thing.
Exactly.
And I'm just kind of going there because it allows me. It's like a magazine that allows me to just have access to all these different insights about different things that I'm not even going to use what you did. I'm going to make my own thing. I'm going to put 2 things together that don't go together.
Right. And it's gonna make
something that you never seen before. So that's my thing. I'm the innovator queen. Yeah. That's my thing.
I love that.
But I totally get that. I love that aspect, kind of what we were talking about before, is just finding inspiration from all around you. I love that.
So if you could have or use one social media platform for the rest of your life, what would it be? If every other platform went away, had to go away, which one are you sticking to? 10 toes down.
Does it have to still exist right now? MySpace would have been my thing. Tumblr would have been my thing.
Bring her back, then. Bring her back.
I don't know. I would say maybe Insta.
Okay.
Or YouTube. I don't know. You could take TikTok. because TikTok be giving me, anxiety because you
Yeah.
never know what's
Like,
going to pop up on your feed.
it really is. It really is random. I still love it over there, but it really is random. You have, by saying, does it have to be something that still exists? You have like reignited a new answer for me. So I'm going to say, forget all the ones we got right now. And I'm going to go with Vine because I was like a Vine girl. I loved Vine. And I think like the reason too why I would still pick it over platforms now, not that I, don't like the features and stuff that we have, but with Vine, it was like short, clippy vlogging. Like that's how I used to use it. Like I remember doing a Vine, like we were at a family reunion in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. And like my brother was asleep and I had like put Cheetos in his nose. And then I was like, had it like on the beach. And then I had it like me and my cousin. And it was just like these short clips I would put together. And it's almost like, I don't know if it was like an app or just a website. And people used to do it a while, probably like right before the pandemic, but it was like 1 second every day. It was called something like that. And it would just be like a clip of 365 days, but 1 second all your days.
Run that back.
Yeah. And so I feel like Vine, like that's how I used to use Vine. Like I would just get like a clip a day and just like stitch them together, like before the cap cuts and the TikToks.
Yes.
So I'm bringing Vine back. You bringing MySpace back.
Bring it back. I'm going to have to go do some research because I don't even remember what all we were doing on MySpace.
Yeah.
But
I know the glitter was falling from the pages and the music was on there. And it had the top eight on the side. Tom was everybody's first friend.
Like it was just people's own individual vibe. And I think if we're talking about this, I think that's what's coming back because I think as millennials, we're so sick of like the just all over the place.
Yeah.
And Gen Z, that's, they love that. That's their thing. But it's like for us, we live the slow life. And now we're in this, toxic social media environment life sometimes. And I think we're kind of trying to get back to that being present.
Like, who is just me? Yeah.
Yes. And like having real feelings and emotions attached to the people that you're following because you actually care about them. You don't care about the followers. You don't care about nothing. Like there was no followers on MySpace. I don't think there was.
Yeah. I think you had friends because I remember you had like a top 8. Friends. I don't think it was called followers. I think it was called friends.
Yeah.
Yep. So pivoting away from the fun world of social and branding a little bit, let's talk about entrepreneurship. And I'm gonna hit you with a heavy one, just like off the top. But with entrepreneurship, like, what are some things behind the scenes when it comes to running Theos? It comes to being a wife. It comes to being a mom of 3. Like, what are some of those things behind the scenes that people don't see, or what even has been like one of your hardest days as a business owner?
Well, most people don't know 2023 was a rough year for me. And I know that's the year we did the branding and things like that. But I had different ailments kind of going on in my body. And it just was mentally exhausting, knowing that everything was rising and falling on me, knowing I still had my kids to tend to, I still had my husband to take care of, I still had, other endeavors that I was, working on at the time. It just was a dark time because I felt like life is still moving, but I feel so stuck. I feel stuck in this, in what I personally have going on. But social media can make you feel like life is happening. You gotta hustle. You gotta do all this and do that. And that's when I really kind of realized that you have to be present to enjoy the journey and the process that you're in as an entrepreneur. You have to really love what you're doing to be able to get through those really tough times where your body is doing whatever. You're going to the doctor, you're going here and there, and nobody knows what's going on. Like you got this whole thing going on behind the scenes that nobody knows about. But then you're getting all the highlight reels on social media of people. I just reached 100K. I reached I just did this. I just did that, and it's great because I'm all about celebrating people. I've never been a jealous type. I'm always clap for you. But then I had my friendships falling out and all these other things happening too. And I just was like, Lord, what is going on? Like, what is happening? And I think a lot of people don't really talk about the loneliness of entrepreneurship and that feeling that you can't stop. Like, it's on you. It really is on you. The people you're paying, the contractors, the what it takes to run your business, family. it's on you, and nobody truly gets it. Nobody understands the grind. Nobody truly understands why you feel so passionate about it, why you can't stop, or why you feel like you need to keep going. It's just something deep inside of you that's like, this is my passion. And if I stop this, there were so many times my husband's like, why don't you just close the business down and focus on your health? Focus on you. Focus on da 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 da. I was like, this is the only thing that's keeping me going.
Yeah.
This is the only, like, knowing that I have supporters, knowing that I have clients, you know, me showing up for them, me showing them that it's possible. Like, just taking on that full responsibility. I don't think a lot of people talk about the loneliness aspect and the responsibility side, whether you're in straight leadership mode and you just feel like, I got to keep going because this is the dream.
Girl, I got to write all these down. Like the loneliness mode, and like the loneliness and the leadership mode. Like, and you know, when you kind of picture that and visualize that from a perspective of like, you know, say you work for somebody, you have a job, you go to work every day, whatever, and you have a shitty day at home, or you just have, you know, shitty stuff going on in life in general, and you show up, you can, you know, be feeling all of that, go home, and you know, things are not the best, but you kind of go to work, you come home.
Right.
When you have the shitty stuff happening in life and you're an entrepreneur,
absolutely,
like you're running the business. You're running the business. You're leading the team. You're hiring the people. You're working with the client. Like you're running all the aspects with that. So that alone, like, you know, without a good support system, or, you know, even just sometimes being able to voice it in ways where people don't feel like I'm not saying, you know, I don't value, you know, you or your support. It's just like, you know, it's a different realm of like, you don't get it, you know, like, it's like, how do you say that without
hurting somebody's feelings?
Yeah.
Rubbing somebody the wrong way.
Exactly. And I think like that's the biggest thing that I've never really pictured, you know, just continuous without end leadership mode. Like that is a, like, you feel like, you know, speaking of follow, you feel like you never get the chance to follow.
Right.
And that alone, like that's a whole job in itself. We ain't even talking about like using our gifts and doing the tactical things and, you know, keeping the business running, but just continuing to have to lead in all aspects. And then of course, you know, that involves your household. Like you leading as a mom, you're leading as a wife,
woman. Yes.
Girl.
Yes.
Sometimes you just want to sit back and be like, can I lead nothing? Can I?
Yes. There were times
somebody have no expectation from me. Like,
yeah. Wow. There have been times where I didn't have, because you get online and they're like, oh, you need to do a night routine. You need to set yourself up. You need to da-da-da-da.
Right.
It's like there are times where I just sit and look at the wall because I don't have the capacity to think, do nothing.
I feel that.
And emotional wise, the toll that it takes if you don't have support, if you don't have, and then your support feels some kind of way because you were building this business, but they didn't realize that you could not stop. You got people counting on you. Maybe until you reach a certain place and you actually are up there with the top. I keep seeing this meme floating around that, you know, the 1% is collaborating. They're not, it's not any jealousy. It's not any, you know, envy and competition, you know, because people look at, you know, you being an entrepreneur and they glamorize it, but it's far from glamour.
I'm always like, where y'all get that part from? Where y'all get that glamour part from?
Instagram.
Throw her away. We've agreed we throwing her away in terms of channels we would keep.
These 4 and 5 second reels.
Exactly.
You know, because it's like, how can you tell what it really takes and what the cost is to be an entrepreneur?
With a trending audio. I'm dead. I mean, entrepreneurship has been condensed to 7 seconds and a trending audio.
That's the real. That's the tweet right there.
That's
because what?
That's the thread. That's the tweet. Like,
and it goes back to the expectation thing, because when people want to get coached by you, people want to get mentored by you, they think that you're going to teach them how to make a 4 and 5 second.
Yeah. And get 20,000 followers in 5 days.
That's not business.
That was going to be
business.
My next question to you too, though. So like, you have been an entrepreneur pretty much your entire career. Like this has been your journey. So for someone that is, I mean, maybe coming out of school and they know that entrepreneurship is like, that's my day one, journey. That's my day one dream. Or somebody that's trying to pivot into entrepreneurship. Like, what is the first thing that you would tell them, whether it's, you look at it from a piece of advice or just a piece of like, actual ways in terms of setting up a business, but like, what's the first thing that you would tell somebody that has any interest in entrepreneurship?
My first thing that I would tell anybody that's wanting to be an entrepreneur and starting out is get your mind right and change how you view failure.
Oh,
because that's going to teach you everything you need to know. It's going to teach you about yourself. It's going to teach you about business. It's going to teach you about entrepreneurship, getting clients, sales, rejection, all of that. Failure is the number one thing that if I was first starting out in entrepreneurship, if somebody would say, Jannika, fail fast, fail a lot. That's, to me, that's entrepreneur. You get so used to failing that when the success comes, all you're concerned about is just getting to the next place, the next place. Once you get okay with that and understanding that that's a part of the process, like we talked about before, like nothing is linear. There's no straight shot unless you have investors, and even having investors, that's not even, you could throw money all you want to. But if you don't have that experience and you failing forward and being okay with making mistakes and letting people see you make mistakes, that's the biggest thing that you have to get. Is don't look at these social media influencers because their back end looks completely different than their front end. It's branding.
Mm-hmm.
It's branding.
And I always like to say, like, a true definition of entrepreneurship is being able to be okay with feeling defeated and accomplished in the same day. Yes. Like, it could be a day where it was like the most productive day, but then you find out like, okay, maybe that client's not re-signing their contract, or, it was a crappy day to begin with. And then you realize at the end of the day, one of your employees sent you like a Slack message that just, kind of changed your whole mood around. Like, you have to be okay with being defeated and accomplished in the same day, because you're literally the back end of all the things moving.
Right. So, where defeat and success are always on your plate.
They're always neck and neck. They're always neck and neck. It's no seasons of just like, this was just such a high season, successful. No, like, you don't get up and down.
Yes, without losing enthusiasm, without losing hope, and still being brave, still deciding I'm going to take the risk again. I'm going to do it again. I think that's so key. That's so key.
So, Jannika, thinking about how long you've been doing this, thinking about family, maybe even like dreams and visions that you have for Theos Design Agency in the future. What does your ultimate self look like? Like, what does your ultimate, you've peaked, you've reached the climax, your days are the way that you want them to flow. Like, what does your ultimate self look like?
I think being true to, inherently who I am, for one, and then two, what I know, what the things that are in my head that nobody can know. You know what I'm saying? The dreams that I have, the dreams and aspirations that I have in my head. When those two things align, I feel like I will be like in my element, whether that is, having my schedule. And I just, talking about it because I've been doing this for so long, it's hard to say that things will be perfect. Like, there was a perfect place to be for me. Yeah. Because I feel like there's always going to be, like we talked about, that with that success, and then those areas where you're just like, you're having to, discipline yourself to believe the best about every single situation. But I think the biggest thing for me is impact, knowing that I am changing other people's lives because I position myself to do so. And giving other people opportunity to do the same. Maybe coaching, other entrepreneurs to do what I'm doing. possibly events in the future, things like that. I just feel like the journey is the destination. I've been listening to Kobe a lot lately.
Yeah.
And so it's hard to like really get back into the mode of trying to daydream into this other mode of this other place, because I just feel like what I'm doing right now is where I want to be, you
It's
know?
where you want to be. Yeah. And I think too, a lot of times, one, I love your answer, like it being just such a selfless answer. Like, you know, ultimate self is continuing to give, like continuing to pour into people, you know, essentially with the gifts that you have. And I think, again, somehow you like made this conversation full circle, like back to environment. You know, like or sometimes that ultimate self or that climax of where we want to be is, it's not like a certain title we want to achieve or a certain, you know, amount of zeros in the bank account or a certain amount of people on the team. It's just a feeling. You know, my ultimate self for me is, you know, slow mornings, is, you know, being able to feel like I have a little bit more control of my day and my day is not controlling me. Like, I don't know how old I am at that point. I don't know how many, again, zeros are in the bank account or people on my team, but I just know when I get to that point, that's her. Like that's it. Like where I don't
know when
like
it's there.
Rat race. Yeah,
you know when you got there.
Absolutely. So bringing us to the last question of today. If you could leave advice at the cooler for a woman looking to be in your space or in your shoes, what would it be?
I think I would tell her to go after your dreams and forget what everybody else say. You know, like don't worry about what people got to say about what you're doing. Don't worry about if it sounds crazy, if it sounds illogical. Like, go after your dreams with every single thing that you got. Go all in. It's your time. Like, it is the opportune time to absolutely do anything that you want to do. We've experienced COVID. We've experienced all these, you know, there's other things going on in other countries. Like, there's no reason we should be afraid right now to do anything, because, you know, life is happening. It's powerful to be present. It's powerful to be intentional and to do what you can with the time that you have. You know, I don't believe that we're going anywhere. That's my hope, that we're not going anywhere anytime soon. But, you know, why not you?
Yeah.
Why not you? So I think that would be my biggest piece of advice, is to believe in yourself and to go hard for yourself.
Amen. So do you have any exciting products, projects, services, events that Theos has coming up or you have coming up? And then make sure to let, you know, listeners know where they can follow you and find you.
Yeah. So right now, currently, we just dropped Passive Profits Playbook, which is a digital ebook or course that teaches you how to build out digital products for passive income. So that's something that I'm passionate about, is having multiple streams of income. Like I talked about last year, was crazy as far as health wise. So I understood that one-on-one is not always an option for everybody. So I believe that building passive income in multiple streams, having digital products right now is big. So that is e-course that teaches you how to do that. And you can find that on my Instagram, Theos, THEOS_co. And on my Instagram, you can find that in the link in my bio. And you can also find my other social platforms on my Instagram as well. And we can be friends. So just let me know where you came from and I will shout you out.
I love it. And we can be friends.
We can be friends.
Jannika, thank you so much for joining me at the cooler. But most importantly, thank you for sharing your story. Of course. And everybody, thank y'all so much for joining us for this first episode of season 3. And see you next time. If you gathered around the cooler before, thank you so much for rocking with us. And if you're new here, pull up a seat and stay tuned for new episodes dropping on Wednesdays. Be sure to follow CoolHER Talk on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and wherever you listen to your podcast. To never miss a drip, subscribe and join the community at CoolHERTalk.com. See you at the cooler.